Barakatay Hawa, Barakatay Hawa Shai, Barakatay Hawa, Barakatay Hawa Shai, Kal Kalamlallah, Hawa Bashim, Hawa Shai, Bashim, Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and was to lead as examples to the flock. Peace and salutations to the Akim out here pushing this word in all sincerity. And now truth. And this is, drive and talk, whatever you want to call it, in transit, I believe it is, yeah. And it's just, the speaking to the Spirit. We're still in the week of the Feast of Tabernacles, and just meditating on the deliverance, that we got, from Egypt, going through the wilderness, being ultimately delivered into the land of promise, and looking at the parallel between where we are now as a people in prophecy, being in the modern day Egypt, starting with Mystery Babylon the Great, mainly Mystery Babylon the Great. That's really the modern day Egypt, but our people are scattered through the four corners of the earth. Myself here, I'm in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, but it's still the same, right? And as we, think about what happened when we were delivered, from Egypt, there are a few things that we have to keep in mind, as 1 Corinthians 10, admonishes us not to be like, our foreparents, not to make the same mistake that our foreparents made, the ones who were delivered out of the land of Egypt, who didn't make it, because ultimately they were a faithless, generation. Now, in these times, there are men and women who would rather stay in Egypt, who would rather not be delivered from their current situation because they are comfortable here, and because they are faithless. They don't believe that a deliverance is going to come. They don't believe that there is better than what they are currently experiencing right now. Just like you had the Israelites back then who complained that Moses took them out of Egypt in order to die in the wilderness, who complained about the cucumbers and the different other foods that they got to eat in Egypt that now they don't have access to, right? So you have a lot of Israelites who call themselves Hebrew Israelites, but who are just of their father the devil, who are truly not children of Abraham because they don't have the faith of Abraham. Instead, they have the lust of Lot's wife, right? That connection to this world that they don't want to let go of, right? And then, as I was listening to the Ella Yashawamba's video a while ago, addressing another faithless Jake, talking about, we are always talking about Jacob's trouble, what about Esau's trouble? The reason why these men and these women make comments like this is because they themselves don't want to suffer. They would like to believe that the suffering has been accomplished by their ancestors through the transatlantic slave trade, the Jim Crow era and all of that. They would like to think that that was the accomplishment of Jacob's trouble, so that they themselves don't have to go through any difficulty, which is why they subscribe to doctrines like the rapture doctrine, because it is comforting to know that before anything gets difficult, before any friction arises, they're going to be whisked away, right? Never to be proven, right? And even yesterday I did a live about the very same thing, about us being proven while we're being delivered from Egypt. Because nothing you have to keep in mind is that while we were delivered from Egypt and going through the wilderness, the Lord proved us. Deuteronomy chapter 8 goes into that very same thing. The Lord said he proved us to see what was in our hearts, right? So you men and women who have subscribed unto yourself the surname of Jacob, right? Saying you're Hebrew Israelites, you're putting on a garment, border of blue fringes, and you're saying Kalalal Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, or even if you don't use the name, you're using some other name, and you proudly profess yourself to be Hebrew Israelites, right? To be faithful. But you don't want to go through any type of testing to prove that, right? Ecclesiasticus chapter 2, which is one of the fundamental precepts that we learn coming into this truth. I don't know about other camps, but as a Great Millstone member, Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach chapter 2, is a fundamental precept that you get coming into this truth to prepare your mind, right? And it says, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation, right? Because that puts you in the right mindset to know that you coming into this truth is not going to be a cakewalk, right? Niggas just don't want to suffer. That's why in the wilderness, you know, as we go back, you know, to the Feast of Tabernacles, and we commemorate the different acts of the Lord, our people murmured. They murmured that they were tired of the manna. They murmured that they were hungry, got manna, murmured that they were tired of the manna, right? Got quail and all of that. Murmured that they still wanted the fish and whatever from Egypt. You know, just complaining all day long, right? Because they didn't want to suffer any discomfort. When the Lord specifically said in Deuteronomy chapter 8 that he allowed us to go hungry sometimes before he gave us the food, right? When we were going over into the land and we sent spies, one from each tribe, right? That's when Caleb and Joshua were introduced into the mix, because Caleb was from Judah, Joshua was from Ephraim, right? And they were sent along with men from the other 10 tribes to go to spy out the land, right? The men from the other 10 tribes, they were frightened. They saw the size, right, of the Amorites. They saw the size of the Canaanites and the size of their fenced cities. And they said, you know what, we can't do it. But Caleb and Joshua said, no, to hell with that. The Lord said he was going to give us this land, right? And the land is good. And they brought back different fruits and you know, produce of the land to say, hey, look at this. This land is good. We're going to take this land, right? So the Lord said, you don't be afraid of the fact that these men are bigger than you, right? Their cities are fenced up high, right? And don't worry about the fact that you look like grasshoppers next to them, because it's the Lord that is going before us. And just like then, you have many men and women who feared and didn't want to go to take that land because they were fearful, they were made fearful by the report of those faithless men from the other 10 tribes, apart from Caleb and Joshua, right? They were made fearful by that report. So they didn't want to go up and take the land. The Lord judged them. The Lord took them out. So you have men now who they would rather believe that they're going to escape the judge before the judgment comes, before the trouble comes, rather than believe that the Lord is going to deliver them through the trouble, rather than believe that they're going to suffer a little bit of discomfort before the Lord ultimately delivers them. No, they don't want to hear that, right? They want to just be sitting on their motherfucking couches, Salakia for my French, right? And then boom, one day, right, a beam just burst through their living room roof, right, and whisk them up into the air, right? And no form of difficulty, no form of discomfort ever befalls them, right? No testing of their faith, right? No hour of temptation, none of that, right? Just easy peasy deliverance, being whisked out of trouble, right? When the scriptures expressly said, right, that through much tribulation we must enter into the kingdom of heaven, right? I remember also, right, an account by Yahushua with the mother of Zebedee's children, who came to Yahushua and said, grant that these two my sons may sit on thy right and on thy left. And Yahushua said, it is not mine to give whether they sit on my right and my left. However, are they willing to be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with, right? And they say, yeah. So he said, don't worry about it. You're going to be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with, right? and think about what Yahushua went through. If you want a vivid depiction of what Yahushua went through, watch the movie The Passion of the Christ. Watch that. That movie brings me to tears every time I see that movie. Watch the movie The Passion of the Christ. If you want to see a vivid example of what it's like to suffer as the Son of the Heavenly Father for your ungrateful wretches, right? Watch that movie. And then you read 1 Peter 4 and verse 12. Or 1 Peter 4 and verse 1. Right? You don't think it's strange considering the trial that's going to come to you, yo. You're supposed to arm yourself with the same mind that is in Yahushua. Right? All the apostles except John were violently killed. All of them. So what makes your ass so special that you shouldn't go through anything? Right? What makes you so special that you shouldn't go through anything? Isaiah 48 and 10 says in the furnace of affliction has he chosen us. Right? Without affliction, without difficulties, you cannot be polished. Right? You cannot be polished without friction. If you even look at it carnally, you're polishing a sword, you're polishing a diamond or whatever other metal, you need friction. You need some hard to rub it against. You need to put it in fire, right? You need to put it in uncomfortable situations for it to be furbished. So you yourself, we ourselves, in order to be furbished, we have to be put in difficult situations, in uncomfortable situations, right? You're not going to walk through Jacob's trouble, or you're not going to avoid it. You're not going to be whisked away before it comes, right? No. You're going to have to show your faith. And the problem is, a lot of you are just faithless. You're faithless, which is why you're worried, right? You're worried that the Lord can deliver you, so you would rather believe and subscribe to the fact that you're not gonna suffer anything, right? But I said, as the children of Israel were judged and tried and proven, right, in the wilderness before they went into the land, so will we also be tried and proven. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3 goes into that, right? The Lord proved us in the furnace of affliction, and then he glorified us. Men just like what is easy. They're so used to being here in Babylon, where everything is easy, right? Where you don't have to go through any type of difficulties to get your daily bread, right? So you don't want that. You don't want any type of difficulty. You want to be able to go on your app, right? Order your food, sit on your couch, your food comes to you. You want to be able to go on Amazon, buy whatever you need. Amazon delivers it to you, right? And you just live comfortably until the rapture comes and you don't experience any type of Jacob's trouble, right? No hunger, no famine, no proving of your faith, right? Just boom, bam, bang. That's it. Just boom, bam, bang. You're just in the chariot. No trouble, no proving. Right? So I believe the point is made. I won't prolong this video anymore. Give me the spirit to this lesson. Till next time. Shalom.